You're looking at the sky or a white wall, and there it is. That little dot or string or something that looks like a tiny hair just drifting across your vision. You try to look at it, and it moves. Every single time. So you look it up online, and every article tells you the same thing. Floaters are harmless. Just learn to live with them. Turns out you have more options than the internet lets on, ranging from something you can buy at any grocery store, all the way to a laser that fires directly inside your eye. The question is, which ones actually work? Before we get to treatments, you need to understand one thing, because it explains why getting rid of floaters is so much harder than it sounds. Floaters are not sitting on the surface of your eye, like a smudge on a camera lens. They are inside your eye. Deep inside the eyeball, there's a clear gel called the vitreous. When you're young, it's smooth and transparent, but over time, tiny collagen fibers inside that gel can clump together. When light enters the eye, it passes through the vitreous before it hits the retina. And if one of those clumps gets in the way, it casts a tiny shadow. That shadow is what your brain sees as a floater. And that's also why most treatments, especially the natural ones, are so hard to prove. But before we get to any of that, there's something more important. Because not every floater is just a harmless shadow. Most of the time, floaters are completely normal. They come with age, they're annoying, and they're not dangerous. But there are 3 specific signs that change everything. A sudden shower of new floaters, not one, but many, appearing all at once. Flashes of light, like quick streaks of lightning in the corner of your vision. Or a dark curtain or shadow creeping in from the edge of your visual field. Any one of these means something may be happening to your retina. And when the retina is involved, time matters. Don't wait, get your eyes checked that same day. For everyone else, you've got a harmless floater, and you want to know what you can do about it. Let's go through every real option, starting with the most boring one, which also happens to help the most people. Option 1 is time, which sounds like a non-answer, but here's why it actually works. The floater doesn't always disappear. What happens instead is that it slowly drifts lower in the vitreous gel, out of your direct line of sight. Or your brain simply gets better at filtering it out. The same way you stop noticing the hum of an air conditioner after a while. This is why a floater can feel absolutely unbearable for the first few weeks. And then, months later, you barely think about it. For a large number of people, this is how the story ends. Not with a treatment, but with adaptation. But for some people, especially those with large, central, or very dense floaters, time isn't enough, so they start looking for something they can actually do, and that search usually leads to the same place. At first, this sounds like something your grandma read on Facebook, but the logic behind it is actually more interesting than you'd expect. Pineapple contains an enzyme called bromelain, especially in the stem, which can break down proteins. And since floaters are largely made of collagen-like material, the theory goes, bromelain breaks down protein, floaters are protein, so maybe pineapple helps dissolve them. There's even a study behind it. A small pilot study from Taiwan suggested that eating pineapple daily for 3 months reduced vitreous floaters in a significant portion of participants. So, does it work? Honestly, we don't know yet. So where does that leave pineapple? Interesting, worth studying more, for sure. Probably harmless for most healthy people, but not a proven treatment. What if instead of waiting for something to dissolve the floater, you could just destroy it directly? This is called YAG laser vitreolysis, and in the right situation, it can genuinely help. The idea is straightforward. A laser is focused inside the vitreous and fired at the floater, breaking it up or vaporizing it. The problem is that inside the eye doesn't leave much room for error. If the floater is too close to the lens, the laser can damage the lens and speed up cataract formation. If it's too close to the retina, there's a risk of retinal damage. And sometimes, the laser doesn't eliminate the floater at all. It breaks one large floater into several smaller ones. YAG works best for large, well-defined floaters sitting safely in the middle of the vitreous, like a Weiss ring after posterior vitreous detachment. For small, diffuse, or poorly positioned floaters, the risks often outweigh the benefits, which brings us to the most definitive option, the one that actually removes the gel where the floaters live. A vitrectomy removes the vitreous gel entirely and replaces it with a clear fluid. No gel, no clumps, no shadows. In that sense, it's the most complete solution. But this is actual surgery inside the eye, and that changes the risk calculation completely. The most common long-term complication is cataract progression. More serious risks, infection, bleeding, retinal tears, retinal detachment, are rare, but they exist and they permanently affect vision. This is why most ophthalmologists are very cautious about recommending vitrectomy for floaters alone. The question isn't, can vitrectomy remove floaters? It usually can. The question is, are your floaters severe enough to justify surgery inside the eye? For most people, the answer is no. For a smaller group with severely bothersome floaters, it may be the right call. And then there's a fifth option, one that doesn't exist yet for most patients, but might change everything. One of the biggest problems with current laser treatment is precision. Traditional YAG vitreolysis is mostly manual. The doctor has to spot the floater, estimate where it sits in three-dimensional space, and aim carefully, all while staying safely away from the lens and retina. A company called PulseMedica is developing something different. Their system combines high-resolution 3D imaging of the vitreous with a femtosecond laser and AI-guided targeting, turning a manual procedure into a precisely mapped, image-guided treatment. In theory, this could make laser treatment safer and available to a much wider range of patients than current YAG allows. In theory. PulseMedica's technology is still in clinical development. We don't yet have the large-scale evidence needed to say how effective and safe it truly is, but it represents exactly the kind of progress this field needs, a way to treat floaters precisely, without jumping straight to invasive surgery. It's one to watch for sure. So, can you get rid of eye floaters? Sometimes they become less noticeable on their own. That's still the most common outcome, and for many people, the only one they need. Pineapple and bromelain are generally interesting, but not yet proven. YAG laser can help in selected cases, not a universal solution. Vitrectomy is the most complete option, and also the most invasive one, reserved for severe cases where the benefit clearly outweighs the surgical risk. And future image-guided systems like PulseMedica could change that balance, but we need the clinical evidence first. If your floaters suddenly increase, come with flashes of light, or arrive with a dark shadow in your vision, that's not a floater problem, that's a retina problem. Get checked urgently. For everything else, now you know your options. One more thing before you go, the pineapple question. Have you tried it? Did you notice anything? I'm asking because I genuinely don't know. And honestly, your collective experience might be ahead of the research here. Take care of your eyes. See you on the next one.